Hello, welcome back to part 3 of our game making and mechanics. I still haven't decided on a name for it yet. So if you remember in the last one, we made our little box generator there and we had a little lamp, but we haven't yet done anything with the power. So how are we going to add ports to this? Now there is a number of ways we could do this. I have a couple of thoughts. There is a more advanced way, and that's overriding a static mesh so that I can place it on here, and the static mesh itself has a blueprint built in. But for now, we're going to use possibly just a component. So we need to add a component into this that will allow us to connect cable. How are we going to do this? Interesting enough. Good question. We're going to create a component now. In the electrical folder, I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call this connectors, and that is not how you spell connectors. Let's go in here, connectors. I'm going to change the color of this one to probably like a black color, just to make it a little different. There we go. So we know it's a separate one. So we want to create a new blueprint class, and we want to use an actor component. Now what this does is allows us to add this to more than one actor, so it has, you know, it has reusability. So BP electrical, I'm going to call this electrical connector because maybe something, excuse me, I got hiccups there, maybe other uses for this later on. Electrical connector base. I don't think I misspelled that, but there we go. So I'm going to open this up. This doesn't have anything visually. So how do we do this? So what we do is we need something of some way of having this so that it can be connected to. So in here we go B is connected. No, I don't need the is. I don't know why I'm putting is. Be connected, and it's a boolean. Also parent connector. I'll just call it parent. Yeah, and this is going to be a type of for now we're just going to call this an object. Just type object. Basically it just gives us a reference to the object that it's connected to so that we can talk to it. To be honest, actually this could be an actor. There we go. That's why I couldn't find it, because I was looking for actor. I knew it was all at the top. It's not set. We can't set it because we're not connected. And then what we need to do is be powered. Be powered. It's the same thing. And this is another boolean. Okay. When something connects to this, it will give it a parent. We also need to add in, the parent will be the cable, and each cable and each electrical item will store whether it's powered or not, so it will just keep bouncing along. So if its parent is powered, then its child will be powered, and so forth. So all we need to care about is the parent actor. We'll rename this parent connector. Okay, so what will happen is it will propagate down. So if the power turns off, then we'll keep the parent connector in. Okay, I'm also going to add in parent supply, because given a direct access to our generator class, so type of BP generator base, yep, it makes no difference which type of generator it is. We can add in a child and so forth and so forth. So this basically gives us now how it is connected. Now we need to know where we're connecting it to. What we're going to use, probably use a scene object. Let's just bring into the generator base. We add in our BP electrical connector base. Okay, it doesn't appear in the viewport. See what I mean? That's intentional, I think, for the way these work. They're not actually a visible actor, so we need to have a way of linking that to a port. So I'm not going to make any ports on this. I'm going to change this based on a construction script. So each object type will add in its own connectors. So I'm not going to actually add in the ports themselves for now. You'll understand what I mean later on. I'm probably just confusing it completely. So what we're going to need here, we need to add a connection object. And what this is going to be, we're just going to use a scene object, but I'm not sure if it will let me do that. So a scene component, it's only going to be an object reference, and you'll see why in a minute what we need this for. So we need one of these for each connection, and each connection needs a scene object. So we need to go to our generator. Okay, so we've added in our port. This is our connector. We need to change these later on. We'll flip these around and have children. But this is just an example for now. It will be upgraded later on, and it probably will change a lot. I'll change my mind like the weather. So what we want to do now is we need to add in a scene object. So if we type scene, scene component, there we go, and we're going to call this one. Now we need a naming convention that keeps these kind of sorted. So we're going to have this as electrical connection port, ECP. That keeps it quite unique, I would say. And we're going to call this output _1. We may use tags later on, but at the moment I'm just going to leave it like this. So we've got an EC output port, and as you can see, here it is. So what we're going to do is move this up, and we're going to move this to here. And let's see. There we go. It's just on the surface. And move this maybe there, maybe there, and maybe there. Okay. So that's going to be our output port for our generator. That's where our power is going to go out. And this electrical base, we now need to link to that. So let's compile it. So our connector base, we need to set that here, our connection object, and we do that probably at runtime, I would have thought. I don't think I can drag that. No, I can't. Okay, what I'm going to do is in this section, because this is going to be connected to this, I'm going to create in here an enumerator. Now I believe that's just in blueprint. No structures there. Where is enum? I always forget enum. Editor. No, it's not. It's utilities. There's blueprint. Under miscellaneous. I'm going blind. I normally find this straight away, and I don't know why. Blueprint. Oh no, it is there. Oh god, I'm going blind. Enumeration. We're going to call this enum, or E for enum _ port direction. Okay. All this does, let's open it up. It creates a list of values, and all it is, it's just you want an object to have a state. It's basically kind of like a state. So we want 3 states for this. Okay, so we add 3 using add enumerators. Yeah, first one is going to be output. Our port can either be an output port, it can be an input port, or in case we need this, by directional. See, general enums normally assign a value to each. So output will probably be 0, then it'll be 1, then it'll be 2, then it'll be 4, and it'll just go up in bases of 2 each time. So it'll go be 4, 8, 16, 32, yeah. And that means they can all be unique. Whether that's how that works on here, I don't know, as they're only used really for a state of sorts. So now a generator base, a connector base, sorry, electrical base, now needs a direction, which we've got here. So add a direction variable. Doesn't matter what it makes it as, because we're going to change that. And we're going to change that to E _ and it's going to be, what do we call it, port, so port direction. There we go. Compile it, save, and the default will always pick the first value. Makes no difference because we can change that as we implement them. So we're going to make that visible. We're also going to expose it on spawn, which a lot of these things probably need to do. So I'm just going to expose them on spawn just in case. It just means that when they're created in game, you can automatically set half of these values. Expose and spawn. Okay. So there we go. We have that. Keep going. So our port direction can be an output, an input, or bi-directional. Okay, I'm not sure how we're going to use bi-directional at the moment. That's probably going to be for power poles. If we use power poles, we shall see. Power poles might just be their own independent base thing, so they might not use those ports. It might just use a continuous line. So we have our electrical connector base here. And the reason we are setting this value here is the fact that we need to tell it where the connector is there. So that is going to be our connector. It's not showing anything. I don't think it can show an actual, no, I can't see anywhere on there showing some sort of, normally it shows a sync command, it can show you a little disc, a little ball, but it doesn't matter. So we have one connector, it's an output. Okay, it's already set to output on our connector base. If we want to make it an input, we just change it there. It's not connected, it's not powered. Well, it could be powered, but that's down to the fuel and all that, so that's something else we will need to set as we go. So we now have a connector. So what we need to do is we need to now add in some way of connecting to it. So we also need to come into our light, and we need to add another BP electrical base connector, and this one is going to be an input. Okay, save that, and then we're going to add in a scene object. This will become a different object, I think. I will have a graphical port on it and make it its own object, which will probably get rid of this altogether, but we'll see. We're going to rename that to our ECP input and one, and it's only going to have one. So we'll come down here and there we go. Now for now I'm going to hard code the connections, and I'll show you why in a minute. So we now have a port on each of these. One's an input and one's an output. Unfortunately we can't see these, but it matters not. So all I'm going to do for now is I'm not going to create an object for this. I'm going to just drag in a cable component. So I don't think I can add it from up here. We'll have a look. Starting shapes, volumes, classes, place actors panel, probably better. And so we want a cable actor. I'm just going to put that there. Okay, close that. So this is the cable actor, and it's a little bit underground. There we go. That's lovely, isn't it? Absolutely lovely. We're going to have to make this connect to those ports. Now that's very, very, very wide. Size, cable width, there we go. Let's bring that down to 5. Maybe less than that. Maybe 2.5. Yay, that's not too bad. It's probably still a little bit thick, but it doesn't matter. Number of sides, we're going to increase that up to double, so it looks more like a wire. The length doesn't really matter just yet. So this thing has attachment starts and ends, so we can reference actors that we can connect them to. this is where it gets quite ingenious. So our reference axis, we're going to connect the start to there. Now there is an offset already added to the start which we can get rid of. There we go. See this offset here, let's get rid of that. 0. Now it says component name. Now we want to click on here and we want to get this here. So it's ECP output 1. So we click back on the cable and we're going to connect this to ECP output 1. And as you can see, ta-da, it's connected. We will make better cables. This is just for our purposes. Attach end socket to. We haven't got sockets. We might use sockets later on. So we need to attach the start. Now the start doesn't actually give you something to connect to, which is a little bit annoying. So I think we're going to actually have to connect it ourselves by the looks of it. Why is there no start attached to? Attach end location. Just should be naught actually. There we go. And we don't know if it's connected. So judging by this, it's not really a fat lot, is it? So we're going to have to make our own cable object. Okay, so simple enough, I would guess. So let's go to our content drawer and we'll put this in the connectors folder. Similar sort of thing. So it's an actor. I'm going to call this BP electrical cable, and we'll open that up. So we'll add in first our cable actor. Okay, we'll just call it cable. It's no problem. We're going to try and make this look a little bit snazzy. So we need to add a couple of cylinders, and spell it right, cylinder, and I'm going to change that to end A. Okay, and that is obviously way too big. Let's set the size of the cable so we can get an idea. So we set this to 2.5, didn't we? Nice and thin. Number of sides we went for 8. Let's make it a little bit more rounded, and we want to make the length maybe, yeah, a little bit longer, a little bit wibbly wobbly. This now we need to resize to match. So we're going to shrink this down to, for now, 0.1, and the reason that shakes is because every time that it just runs the construction script, and 0.001. Now that looks way too small. I think 0.001. So let's get the width right because we're nearly there. So 0.05. That's more like it. 0.05, and the height is going to be 0.1. Maybe a little shorter. So maybe that's going to be 0.05 as well. Yeah, that looks more like it. So we want the connection axis underneath, so that where it connects to is bang on. And then the same with the cable. We need to bring this down and have a look, see what it looks like. Let's bring that up just a fraction. I don't mind it there. Yeah, so now we have an end. Yeah, so that is end A, and then we need to duplicate this. You can right click or Control and D, whichever you chooses, and then end B. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to attach the end of our cable automatically to end B. So let's first move end B out the way. So hit W, come on, hit W, and we'll just bring it over here a bit. Yeah, you go crazy, go on. Then select the cable and attach the end to end B. End. Oh, let's do the same case just in case. Oh no, it is lowercase there, is it? End B. Okay, End A, end B. Cable, attach end to, there is no socket, and the end location is 0. But for some reason, it's connecting to end A. Have I named them wrong? End A, end B. Is it confused? Ah! Okay. There we go. It had to be compiled. It was simple as that. Right, I'm going to delete the cable and start again. This time I'm going to compile it when I put it in. So, its start point is in the middle of that one. Its end point is not going to have anything on it. Its length will be 300 for now. That may change. And we're going with cable width of 2.5. Number of sides, we went 8. And let's just compile. Okay. So attach end to, I've got this stored in my paste. There. Perfect. Okay, so let's go to attach this in the right place. Oh, it's not letting me zoom in that much. So we want to bring that down and we want to bring it to there. It's not great the way this works. It'd be a shame. It's a shame it doesn't have some sort of force that will let you change it. So the end location on the here, we're going to, so it was the Y. It was the Y. So let's just move it. No, it wasn't. It was the Z. Okay, of course, because it iterates along the Z. So there we go. Just overlapping. So we'll call that 40. There we go. So we have a cable with a connector on the end and some winky wonky madness. Number of segments. 20 looks more curved. No, it doesn't actually. That's really strange. So bring it back down to 10. It doesn't really make that much difference. Let's make the solve iterations. We'll double them. Okay, it's not major. Right, we now have connectors. And we have ends to that. So now the cable is no longer what we attach. It's going to be these little blocks here. Now they're already oriented. So how do these go to attach? Well, we did this last time, didn't we, with the cable itself in here. So sorry, in here we got the cable and we attached them to the ECP outputs, didn't we? And we can do the same with the ECP inputs. So let's go to cable. Now we're not going to do too many checks to see if they're connected to the correct thing or not. That will come later on. All I want to do is get these connected and get some power in. So we will add in a variable, and so we're going to have end a connector, and that's going to be a scene. Oh, this is what annoys me now. It's like you can't just type it, I don't think, because it's just scene object, scene component. Oh, you can type it. I thought it was just called scene. So end a connector, and then we want end B connector, and add end a actor. I'm not sure if we're going to need the actors.
I don't know that one.
I don't think oops, I don't think Alexa knew that one either. Actor, object reference, and we want to add end B actor. Not sure if we'll need these yet, because we'll try it without. Let's make these. So what we need to do is when we set these, we need to move these to the end. So we can do this in what's called the construction script. So every time this has some changes and whatnot, it will automatically update for us. So how are we going to do this? So for now, we're just going to connect them. So what we need to do is, on construction, we need to check if this is valid. So we'll just do end A and end B for now. So I will say is valid, and there. Can we do a validated connection? Oh yeah, we can. Validated get. We don't need that. Okay. So if this connector is valid, yeah, so it has something there, because remember we've got to set these. We then want to get world location of that component. Reason why is we need to know exactly where in the world it's connected so we can send our component there. So if it's valid, get the world connector, world location, and we will get the we'll get our end A, and we will put it there. And we could do that by using the actual object itself, because I'm sure we're centered on this, aren't we? Is this at 0, 0? That's -3, -3, that's -30, which is end A. We'll do end A, and we want it at -3. Yeah, that's, oh no, it's not fine, is it? Let's have a look. It might be okay. No, it needs to be higher, so it just needs to be 0. Okay, and that needs to be 0 as well. And no, now it needs to be underground slightly, doesn't it? So -0.5. Okay, that did not work, so -0.75. Okay, is that right? I can't see the line, but it looks about right. And this one needs to be about the same. No, that one looks okay, doesn't it? 0. Maybe I'm looking at the grid wrong. Yeah, it was just the way I looked at the grid. It is 0'd. There we go. So that's now centered 0, and that's at 0, 0, 0. Okay, this right, so we parent that to end A. There we go. So wherever that moves, that goes with it. Yeah, perfect. Compile that. So what was we doing? What was we doing? What was we doing? We was going that construction script. So if it is valid, we need to attach our cable. No, we're not actually going to attach it now. We're going to set world location, and we're going to do that to the actor. So we do that actor location. Well, we're not going to set the rotation yet. In fact, we're going to change that to set actor location, because we will need to at some point, so I might as well put it in there. So set actor location and rotation. So we're not going to change anything there, and we're going to put that there. Okay, let's compile. Let's just see if that works now. So we have got our, let's get rid of this, get rid of that, and then we're going to drag in our new electrical cable. So we've got an object of it, and bring this up. So end A actor is going to be here. So it's got the generator. Perfect. But that doesn't, oh, we're not using that, are we? So set end A connector. We can't set this directly here, so we do need the actor. Okay, so for now we're just going to put in a small bit of script, and we need to get the end connector. We need to set it. So first thing we will do, sorry, just thinking it out loud, so we get, and we'll turn that into a validated get. Why is it not letting? Oh no, it's put out of set, hasn't it? So we want to get, and we turn it into validated. Again, we need to make sure it's valid, because otherwise if we work on something that's not, we'll just throw errors. If it's valid, then we can start adding those. So end a actor. So what we're going to do is we need to choose this value here and set it, and we're going to do that pragmatically first, and we'll do that by get all oh no, we can't get all actors of class, can we? We need to get components, isn't it? We need to search the components in there. So get component without the S by class. So that will get the first one, BP electrical connector base. Okay, so it's going to find the first one it's got of that. We need to get connection object, and then we need to, can we set this to a validated get? Yes, we can. So let's zoom out. Let's make ourselves some more room here. Let's move those right over. Okay, let's bring this up. So we now need to check that that's valid. Okay, so if it's valid, we then need to set that to the location of this object. So if it's valid, so yeah, we know the port, so we need to set our scene component. So let's set that first to there. We know it's valid, so we don't need to do a validated get, and we've got it here. So we'll get our wheel component location and we'll set that to it. Okay, so what this does, it gets the actor in actor A. It then gets the first object of electrical base connector, yeah, connector base. It then gets the connection object and checks that it's valid. If it is, we then set this as our connection object. So we store a reference to it in A. We then set the location to this. So all we've got to do now for this to work properly, because it will probably error, yeah, doesn't do anything. Will the output log show an error? I'm not sure if this will work yet, because in our electrical connector we're going to set this connection object to ECP output 1. We'll just hard code that at the moment. So we're going to drag out our BP electrical connector base, get, and then we're going to set our connection object. So set connection object. We know it's valid because it's in there, so we don't really need to check it, and we're going to throw that into it. There we go. So that worked. Okay. Oh, and there we go. Now we have all our objects in there. So let me just explain what we just did so we don't get confused. What I did is inside the generator, I've linked hard coded. I will make this into some sort of script that will detect, make it a lot easier. I've hard coded that output to be there. Yeah. So what it wants to do is now we've got that connector there. It's now linked to that, so it has a position. That's all it's for, really, is a position to connect to. We then go to the electrical connector, so the electrical cable, and we then check that we have an actor. It's selected. If we don't, it won't do nothing. We'll then check we've got a setting in our electric connector base for is somewhere to connect to, and obviously we know that, but we get the first one out, and then we get its connection object. Make sure it's valid. So if it is, it will then set the reference in here, so we know where we're going to connect to. And then all we do is move our actor to it. Now we're going to do the same in our light. Okay, now we've got this, so we need to go into our construction script and again do the exact same thing. We need to get this, and we need to set connection object. Okay, and the connection object is going to be the input. There, compile that. So we've only set the one end. What we will do to make this look a little simpler, we're going to do what's called a sequence, and all it does is helps you a sequence. I'm just not doing anything here. Sequence, right? This is the one you want, and all it does, it'll do one letter code, then it'll run the other, and so forth and so forth. Yeah. So now we want to do the same with the end actor. So plug that in. No, that's not what I want. We want to do actor B, and we want to get it, and we want to validate that it's there. Yeah, just makes it quicker than adding another node. Just keeps your life simpler, doesn't it? So if it's valid, yes. Okay, let's get component by class. So we'll get the first one, and it will be again BP electrical connector. So we get the first one it finds, and then we want to drag up and say get connection object, and we want to validate that. So convert to validated get. So if it's valid, check that the other object is valid, and then we want to set NB actor to there. Oh, NB actor is invalid. Oh, and connector. If you drag a different object onto there, it will change to what you're setting. There we go. So we then set our end connector. Now what we need to do is we now need to set not the actor location, because the actor controls the end, the A end, yeah, but the B is just a component. Yeah, so we need to connect that to our object. So we're going to set something else. So we need to set its location. So set location. Well, actually it's component location, isn't it? Component. Actually, let me just put world. Set world location for end B. Okay, so that's what we're doing for NB. Okay, and we need to get world location and set that to there. So then what that does, it sets where NB's location is, and hopefully that will then tell us what we're doing. So there we go. As you can see at the moment, there's no collision onto the ground. Don't know what to do about that at the moment, but as you can see, it's connected to the right place. The orientation's wrong, but that's something we can change later on. So there we have a connected cable. So that was quite a long one, I'm afraid. It was a lot of messing about, sort of a little refresher for me at the same time. Okay, in the next episode we're now going to learn how to check for power across that cable, by checking its instance type, that it's an input, and registering whether it has power, and then the light just detects if that cable has power, do whatever. Yeah, so we'll do that in the next episode. So I hope you found that a little bit informative, a little bit messy, but as we move on you can understand how we can do things. We'll also look at tidying up different aspects of the cable and so forth. Maybe put some collision on it, I don't know. Maybe just detects world static objects and not players, so that we don't trip over it. So yeah, we'll leave it at that, and we'll see you in the next episode. Take care. Bye bye.